Good evening, everybody. The Music Fan is back, bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. And I am back with another Are You In? Tonight we are going over the posthumous album from Avicii entitled Tim. Tim Bergling, also known as Avicii, was a Swedish electronic musician, DJ, and songwriter from Stockholm, Sweden. His previous albums including True in 2013 and Stories in 2015. Now, this is a weird one for me because I wouldn't consider myself a huge EDM house fan. But as I was going through this, I realized that I had listened to all of his major albums, including his EP in 2017. I like a lot of True. I don't believe it was in my top 50 of the year, but I enjoyed a lot of it, especially Liar Liar, Hey Brother, as well as the iconic Wake Me Up. I enjoyed a lot of what he brought to the table, and I found his work a little bit more interesting than maybe Zed or even Discourse. My favorite song of his comes from his next album, Stories, the song Waiting for Love. I find the arrangement so interesting. I love almost everything about it, and I love how it builds throughout the whole entire song. What I can say is that he built a lot of his songs in a very interesting way and a very memorable way. I would eventually love to do an acapella arrangement of Waiting for Love. Fortunately, Tim Bergling retired from the music scene in 2016 and took his life in 2018. However, at the time, he was working on another album with a bunch of producers, and they decided to put out this album, work with whatever source material they had, and try to flush out the rest of these arrangements. The nice thing is all the proceedings of these sales are going to be going to the Tim Bergling Foundation to help raise mental health awareness. As someone who has listened to the other two albums of his, thought it would be only just to listen to this. And I'm glad I did. I did find a lot of interesting songs on here and ones that definitely stick in my mind. Of course, there are ones that do fit the mold of subtle verses with not much there, building up to more layered choruses before going into a drop that is supposed to be the culmination of everything and the high point of the song with very interesting music to feel like there's a payoff for the subtlety of the beginning, and then eventually maybe going into another verse where it's again either dropped down or is a little bit more active before going to the chorus and then another drop. There are songs that do fit that mold on here, and those to me are some of the weaker ones. Those mostly being Hold the Line, which features Arizona, has some great lyrics about pushing forward when times get tough, realizing that we are all we have and the story just doesn't end just because we are gone. So we might as well keep looking forward and trying to better our lives. And Freak seems to be talking about the stigma of depression, anxiety, and being labeled a freak for it. Both of them, nice parts. Arizona does a serviceable job on Hold the Line, and Bon does alright on Freak as well, though you'll find that he does a better job on another song later. I even like the subtle reference to Skinny Love by Bon Iver on the chorus of Freak. The I told you I'd be patient and I told you I'd be kind. That part is referenced in Freak, but neither of them do that much in an interesting way to separate themselves from other songs in this genre. I will give a nod to the whistling on the drop for Freak, but that's basically the only thing that really stands out for either of those two songs. However, there are plenty of songs that do break away from this mold. Three of them being songs produced by Vargas and Lagola, those being Peace of Mind, Tough Love, and Excuse Me, Mr. Sir. Three of my four favorite songs on the album. Peace of Mind starts this album in honestly a perfect way. It's minimal, it's dark, and it keeps building as the song goes on. Yes, it's a little bit repetitive. Yes, it's a little bit simplistic in terms of the lyrics, which is talking about trying to find a way to slow down life and your brain and to enjoy the moment because life does always move way too fast. Just getting a chance to breathe. But I think the lyrics themselves work really well on this song, especially on the chorus when it's talking about you want some relief, you want some peace of mind, you want let go, and it just keeps like ramping up this just the pace of those lyrics, kind of like if it was Tim's brain saying like, you need time off, you need to slow down and everything like that. Also love just the subtle nature of a lot of the song, and the melody is top notch on here, especially when you get the harmonies on the third chorus, where it changes this really subtle change into major for just a second before going back into minor is really cool. Tough Love is this a little bit more worldly song where it has tinges of Arabic music as well as flamenco style strumming for the guitar during the verses. I think the work between Agnes and Vargas and Lagola on here, the voices on here are fantastic and one of the best melodies on the album. Talking about a couple who fight all the time, but at the end of the day find ways to still love each other. One of the many songs talking about keeping together during times that are tough. The drop on here is one of my favorites, and I just like the contrast between the verse and the chorus. Then Excuse Me Mr. Sir is the last one of these by Vargas and Lagola that is a little bit more slow, funky, but also kind of fun at times, especially when you get into the triplet like electronic interlude. That does kind of remind me of Waiting for Love, but just isn't long enough. I like the subtlety of the beginning before building to something a little bit more funky, and it does bring up an interesting point about celebrity, the persona that you give off rather than the person that you are, and how people treat you based on your persona rather than your actual being. We also get that other Bond song that I really enjoy, rounding out my top 4 songs. This one is, yeah, it's kind of simplistic, but I think the message there and the way that Bond sings on here is fantastic. It's talking about not caring about what people think in terms of your reputation or your place in the music industry, because you have someone there in your life that really matters. And it's an interesting talk about where his mind was at this time, because it's talking about, like, you know, when the final song is sung, all the haters can find somebody else to pick up the slack. And, you know, that's kind of a, you know, a sad way of looking at it, where it's like, only true fans will stay by me while other ones will just find someone else to idolize for a minute. But there is a little bit of niceness to there being like, yeah, all these people aren't going to be there for me, but you are. We also do get a couple of songs sung by Joe Janiak. Never Leave Me and Bad Reputation. Never Leave Me is, of course, talking about hoping that this person that either Tim likes hopes that they are there forever with this person and they never leave them. Never Leave Me starts with a very solid piano ballad before going into this very electronic / trance feel. And what I really also enjoy about this one is that it kind of is very subtle in terms of that before getting to the drop, where it holds off getting to that drop until the last part. Joe Janiak sounds phenomenal on this one, especially on the choruses, and it makes for another one of the better songs on the album. Bad Reputation, on the other hand, his vocals aren't as strong on this song, especially on the chorus. And honestly, the verses aren't hugely different from, you know, most of the ideas on this album, but the drop section is really fun and makes for a solid song as well. And then the 3 that feature kind of bigger names, Aloe Blacc, Chris Martin, and Dan Reynolds from Imagine Dragons, are hit and miss. Aloe Blacc's one, the best out of the 3 because of his performance. I think his voice suits these songs better. I enjoy the reference of No Scrubs in the chorus. I don't think that this song necessarily does much different in comparison to other songs on this album, and is a little bit short, but Aloe Blacc does save this to being one of the weaker songs in the album. Heaven and Heart Upon My Sleeve are probably the 2 most flushed out songs on the album, but I don't think either singer on here does the song justice. I don't understand the infatuation of Chris Martin being on a EDM song like he was on Something Just Like This by the Chainsmokers. I don't think his voice necessarily fits the feel of this song. It's serviceable enough, but it's unfortunately just not enough to make it an amazing song. And that's sad, because I think the arrangement on here is one of the more solid ones. Then Dan Reynolds on Heart Upon My Sleeve, one of the darker songs and one of the more different songs on the album. I think his voice is a little bit too over the top for this song. I do like a lot of these string ideas on this song, making for a very dark and very tense song, but it doesn't do enough for me on there. And all three of these songs kind of have the same message. SOS talking about finding someone to help them through the times, Heaven kind of same way, and then Heart Upon My Sleeve is kind of like the other side of it, where this person messed up and now they're looking in the past and hoping that they can make amends so that they can bring this person back. This all culminates with Fades Away, a song featuring Nani Bao that is honestly a beautiful and kind of a nostalgic look at what Avicii brought to the table. You hear parts that are very minimal, piano ballad, and those parts are beautiful, and then eventually it gets kind of into this country-esque song, very much like Wake Me Up in the second verse. What I love about it is at the end, it literally all fades away. Everything else drops out and it's just the vocals, which makes for a very haunting end to a very solid album. Yes, there are a few songs that don't really stray away from the formula that you've heard before. SOS, as well as Hold the Line and Freak, and you can even go In a Thing as well. I don't think any of these are going to be groundbreaking. What does stand out, though, is the passion that Avicii had for these songs, as well as the subtle differences that make some of these ones stand out, like Peace of Mind, like Tough Love, like Excuse Me, Mr. Sir. You have enough differences in genre styles that make for some interesting arrangements, and ones that are spread out enough where even when you get some lackluster songs, they aren't necessarily that stuck together. Yes, you get Hold the Line, Freak, and Heart Upon My Sleeve, 3 out of 4 songs, but that honestly, to me, isn't much of a problem. What I will say is there are some times where it feels like some of these songs are a little bit too short and just wish that there was a little bit more to them. And of course that is because that these songs were basically unfinished. I'm really happy to see what these results were. I'm happy that this was sent out. It is a nice way of being able to look at not just what he was working on, but also looking at his state of mind and realizing, like, yeah, he was in a bad place. Just wanting to have someone there to help him with his mind. He was tired of how other people saw him or how celebrity was influencing his life. Having a lot of quantitative relationships, but not necessarily a lot of qualitative relationships. Again, this is just my opinion. I didn't know the person, but it seems like through these lyrics, that's what was going on. And it's unfortunate that it led him to a place where he felt like the only option was to take his life, you know, especially on a song like Hold the Line, where it's talking about, hey, you got to keep going even when things look bleak. It's unfortunate that he wasn't able to keep that mantra. It goes to show that even as talented as a musician, as a storyteller he wasn't able to find the relief that he needed. And all it takes is just for others to listen. And I hope that people do learn from this. You know, love your idols. Care about the music, but never get to a point where the music is more important than the person. Remember that these people are people too. Eventually, hopefully we can get there. It's unfortunate that we keep finding situations where we keep losing people and then listening afterwards rather than helping in the moment. All in all, solid album. If you like Avicii, I would highly recommend taking a look at this, and not only that, but helping support the Tim Bergling Foundation so that people can help raise awareness of mental health issues. I really wish that we would have been able to see what his fully fleshed ideas were for these songs, but I think these are very serviceable and is a very nice send-off for a very talented individual. So that's my time. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you like or hate this album and your reasons why. Share this with your friends. Subscribe to my channel, and also just let me know other albums from 2019 that you would like me to review. So I'll be back on Sunday with another Are You In? Until then, this is a Music Fan, and I'm signing off.